Hello to the Rise of Nations community. I'm Jatin, and this is a newly started YouTube series called Rise of Patience. Because what we have learned from Rise of Nations is to be patient and not break the monitor every time the game had clashes, connection problems, and out of sync. Rise of Nations is a real time strategic game from Microsoft and Big Huge Games from early 2000s. The multiplayer experience was initially supported by GameSpy, or commonly called GaySpy, thanks to which we lost most of the community members early. GameSpy soon withdrew online support from Rise of Nations and the community struggled to play online. We tried Tungle, Hamachi, Game Ranger, and whatnot, but nothing worked well at that time. I would like to give a special mention to our beloved Rise of Nation troller, T2SA Woogie, who tried his best to keep the game alive by providing a private server for online games for some time. Later in 2014, the game was revived by Skybox Labs, and while I'm not so impressed by their work, I'm glad it's back on Steam and this game can be played again online. Do you get kicked out of pro games? Do people call you the N word? Do you make a library before farms in a Nomad game? Then, my friend, you need this tutorial series to improve. My objective will be to provide newbies and intermediate players with some insights so they can improve and they can proudly play games titled No Noobs. Since Nomad is the most played game type, the first tutorial is going to be about classical age build order in Nomad games. I'll try my best to provide exceptions and some tips wherever possible. The first thing to remember in any Nomad game is the city placement. Players start with 3 villagers in the beginning and they try to bring them to a center spot. Your first concern should be to find a wood line. It is better to delay your city placement than to find yourself without enough wood. Here I found a big wood line and I decided to make my city here. There are certain maps that have specific pattern of wood. So some of these are Himalayas. In Himalayas there is a lot of wood near the edges of the map and almost none in the center. So if you know that your map is Himalayas, you should just build somewhere in the corner and you would be safe. In Sahara, the map has a dense wood line in the center of the map and most players prefer to go there. However, you can still manage to find a decent wood in other parts of the map if you don't want to risk a delayed building time or a nomadic war with your opponent's villagers. And let me tell you, they are the worst kind. If you end up in a nomadic war, the game's going to end in probably 10 minutes. And then you have Amazon. Amazon generally has a lot of woods, that's not a problem, but players often find themselves out of mountains. So look out for mountains, that's going to be a bigger problem in Amazon. The next question is, how should you build the buildings? Your first objective should be to build 5 farms and a lumber camp as soon as possible. Then you would build a library. There are some special cases for certain civilizations. Egyptians, you can go up to 7 farms. Germans, some players build a granary right after the 5 farms to boost their food income. For Greeks, you should get a university as soon as possible, somewhere along with those 5 farms. This lets you accumulate knowledge early in the game. Nubians, this is the only nation that can get market without researching Commerce 1. Nubians can see any rare resources in the friendly territory and they get a plus 50% bonus as well. So you should first look for food rare resources before you decide to make a market if you are Nubians. With good rare resources, Nubians can be among the fastest civilization in the game. And then Lakota. The gameplay with Lakota is a lot different than any other civilization, and for that it deserves a different video for itself, so I won't be talking about Lakota in here. Most intermediate and advanced players will send 2 to 4 villagers for scouting. A tip for beginner players: If you want to scout efficiently, select your scout villager and press shift plus click to make checkpoints on the map. Your villagers will follow these checkpoints, and this makes your job much easier. You don't have to micromanage them every now and then. Scouting helps you to know the location of rare resources in your territory, in your enemy's territory. It lets you find out where your enemies are, and most importantly, it lets you find ruins. The resources that you get from a ruin is the one that you have least in your inventory. So if you have food that's the least in your inventory, you're going to get a food from a ruin. So in case you want to get a food bonus, what you can do is you can quickly create villagers so that your food count suddenly goes down. Then you pick up the ruin and you can cancel those villagers then. It's used by a lot of advanced players, and it's something you must do because initially food is the most sought after resource. The kind of resource bonus you get can make incredible difference in your aging time. For example, wealth is almost never needed in the early game, so you should avoid getting that as the ruin bonus and instead focus on getting food or wood. I highly recommend you to use hotkeys for everything in the game possible. And if anyone wants it, I can also share my custom hotkeys in a future video. Once you have the 5 farms and the lumber camp, make a library and research Commerce 1. This is the best way to proceed unless you don't have a wood line, in which case go Civic 2, grab some territory so you can get more wood line. Or another case would be if you are being raided by your enemy, or if you want to raid your enemy, in which case directly go to military 1, make barracks and start your raid. Once you have Commerce 1 done, build a market and send merchants to the best rare resources that you have in the game. As soon as you have enough food, research Civic 1 in the library and build a city to expand your territory. Building the city allows you to add more farms and reach the 100 food and wood cap quickly. Make a caravan to start the trade as soon as you have the second city. This allows you to start increasing wealth production. Now, alternatively, instead of researching Civic 1, you can go Military 1. This will allow you either stop your opponent from getting the second city, or you can raid them with the units. There are some really good civilizations that can pull off this Military 1 raid. First, there are Japanese. They are faster in the beginning due to their farm bonus, and they get cheap heavy infantry. Then Bantu, they're one of my favorite because their infantry are faster and they're just fun to raid with. Iroquois, they get free scout with a barracks, which means you can get ruins early in the game, and you can also get to know the map earlier. Their heavy infantry are also faster in speed. Turks, they get cheap military 1, so it's easier to research. It's much more feasible with them. Then Aztecs get free light infantry every time you build a new barracks. So, and every time your military units kill an enemy unit, you also get plunder bonus. With British, you get free archers every time you complete a new barracks. But you should remember that British are a little slow in classical age, so if you fail with the raids, it can cost you the game. Then Mongols get extra food due to territory bonus. So oftentimes you can afford delaying the second city because you're already very close to the 100 food cap. Once you make your city and you have sufficient food, research military 1. The only time you should avoid researching military and going directly to classical age is when you are sure your opponent will not attack you, which is going to be quite rare in advanced games. I always go military 1 so I can raid the opponent's rare resources and wood. If I know that he's using silver or diamond or sugar, any rare resources that allow him to be faster in aging, I quickly go and raid it to put him in a tight spot or just slow him down. A pro tip here would be to make a scout with your barracks and make sure you did not miss any rare resources in or around your territory. I've seen so many games where players lose the game because they didn't scout the rares like diamond, sugar, and silver right in their own territory, and therefore they couldn't use it. Once you have started your raids, or you have at least made a barracks to defend yourselves, research science and click up classical age as soon as possible. A decent time to age up with all the 4 researches is 9 minutes with a generic civilization. You can easily reduce that time by utilizing rare resources, or if your civilization has great bonuses to give you head start, like the Japanese have it, and many other civilizations have it. In this tutorial, I used Inca because Inca have no advantage in the early game. They are just a generic civilization in the first stage, and I did not have any rare resources either. So this video should give you a baseline, and you should try to achieve at least this time when you are playing. A pro advice for everybody is, when you click up to classical age, start queuing up villagers, and you're going to need these villagers for metal. So don't wait that you will reach classical age and you'll start making the villagers. Already queue them, so you have 6 to 7 villagers ready by the time you reach it, and you can put them to mine metal. Then once you are in classical age, build a university for knowledge and senate for government. So that'll be all for this Nomad build order. I'll be talking about some other important things in future videos. It'll be great if you could leave a comment to tell me what you liked in this series, or if I missed anything important that should have been a part of this video, please let me know. Make sure to subscribe, and see you all next time. Bye bye.